First, though, for many of today's front pages, we're asking if Jeremy Corbyn is to blame for the anti-Semitic abuse of fellow MPs. The Labour leader, who is an avowed anti-racist, has been on the back foot, I would suggest, fighting accusations of anti-Jewish sentiments within the Labour Party since Ken Livingstone controversially claimed the Nazis supported Zionism 2 years back. Livingstone was suspended, prompting Corbyn to say, and I quote, "We are not tolerating anti-Semitism in any form in our party." 2016 was the same year that Labour MP Naz Shah caused fury. She reposted a Facebook meme suggesting Israel should be relocated to the United States, and she too was suspended. Corbyn at the time calling her remarks offensive and unacceptable. She apologised and returned to the Labour fold in July. Now, yesterday afternoon, MPs from all sides listened intently, applauded and at times were close to tears as Jewish colleagues told of the horrific anti-Semitic abuse they'd encountered.
They've called me Judas, a Zion-Nazi, an absolute parasite, telling me to get out of this country and to go back to Israel.
Hang yourself, you vile, treacherous Zionist Tory filth. You are a cancer of humanity.
I didn't expect when I took on this voluntary cross-party role for my wife to be sent by a Labour Marxist anti-Semite, a dead bird, through the post. My wife, in the last few weeks, from a leftist anti-Semite in response to the demonstration, to be threatened with rape.
God, powerful stuff. Now, I have to say, in what the anti-Corbyn press claims is a snub to the Labour leader, his deputy Tom Watson actually left his boss's side of the front benches to sit at the back of the Commons in solidarity with Jewish colleagues, while Corbyn himself sat in silence, perhaps stunned by the opening address given by Tory Community Secretary Sajid Javid, himself a Muslim.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the leader of the opposition, there are simply too many of these apparently accidental associations to list. It really is a question of leadership.
Too many accidental associations with anti-Semites. Is it fair to hold Jeremy Corbyn to account for the things other people might do in his name, for being on, I know, political forums where other people espouse racist views, for meeting with young Jews on the Passover, young Jews who happen to be anti-Zionists? Corbyn has acknowledged there are pockets of anti-Semitism within the movement. He's commissioned an investigation which found there was an occasional toxic atmosphere towards Jews, and he vowed Labour must do better. As far as I'm aware, though, Jeremy Corbyn himself has not made a racist utterance. However, our Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson, has made more than a few dodgy comments over the years. I think he called black people pickaninnies. He claimed Tony Blair would face watermelon smiles in the Congo. Both comments he's apologised for. But I'm not seeing, Nihal, acres of newsprint demanding that Theresa May, or accusing Theresa May of being light on racism. So what's going on?
It's very interesting you make that point, Matthew, because Baroness Varsi, who used to, of course, be former chairman of the Tory party, said that the Tory party has a simmering underbelly of Islamophobia. So for Sajid Javid to stand up and say that, it's a little bit rich, to be honest. But that is not in any way to detract from what Jeremy Corbyn has to do. Jeremy Corbyn is the leader of a party. He has to make it very clear that anybody who allies himself with him, who believes in his form of socialism, should also be very clear about anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim bigotry, homophobia. Prejudice is prejudice.
Has he made that
He
clear?
has spent his life. You can see it. I mean, it's there for everyone to see. Factually, fighting against racism and bigotry and things. Yes, but as a leader, and as a leader, you have to butt that Senate. And I have a Facebook page, okay, Nihal on the radio. Now, if people put lots of racist and homophobic stuff on there, does that mean that I'm a racist or a homophobe? Does it mean that, or does it mean that I have to say, as he has done on countless occasions, there is no room for this behaviour. There is no room for those kind of posts on my Facebook page.
I don't
Does that
know.
mean that I should be dragged?
You're not the leader of a party.
No, it's my Facebook page.
It's your page, yeah, but you're like chairing a forum. But Jeremy Corbyn is now leader, and no matter how he's been in the past, and I agree with you, there's never been any evidence that he's racist in any way at all himself. And
Quite the opposite, in fact.
I'm sure he abhors it,
against
absolutely.
Racism.
But he is now leader, and it's not good enough to just sit on the front bench there, shaking his head and sort of looking worried. He needs to do more than that.
But this is what I'm trying to get to the point there. He has condemned all those that have come to his knowledge as being anti-Semites. He has condemned anti-Semitism, and yet he repeatedly gets called out for being on forums where other people, who, let's face it, he can't control. They may not even be Labour Party members. They say they're doing it in his name. There's no proof of that. And at the same time, we have a Foreign Secretary who has made racist comments, and no one's saying anything about that at all. I just don't understand what's going on. Is it a conspiracy against Jeremy Corbyn, or where is he failing? What does he need to do more of?
I mean, I agree. I can't help feeling that because of the weight of our media in this country, you can't help wondering whether it's terribly convenient whip to whip him with.
I worry.
But and I'm sure these sort of toxic sentiments do exist in all of our other parties as well. But I don't know, he's just got to step up to the mark as leader.
And say more. You want him to say more?
He's got to expel and not take back in people who
But when we say expel,
it's
it's quite difficult for him to expel people he may not even know, who may not even be party members. But at the same time, we have a Prime Minister who doesn't expel a Foreign Secretary who has made racist comments. I just don't understand how you can say Jeremy Corbyn must act against people he doesn't even know, potentially, but our Prime Minister can have a Foreign Secretary who has made outrageous comments
But isn't it
in the past.
interesting now that the push is also coming from within his own party? I mean, it's not just the
Let's
Tory
not remember,
media
he's
press.
not- There were more than 100 of his own MPs walked out in no confidence against him, so he's not like... It's not like he has the entire support of the party. I'm just trying to get a handle on what I see as inconsistencies in Jeremy Corbyn's to blame for all anti-Semitic comment that's associated with the Labour Party, but our Foreign Secretary has made and said terrible things, and no one seems too bothered about that, Paul.
Well, I'm used to people making strange comments about other people because Prince Philip's always done that.
Well,
He's always spoken his mind. I was at a reception once, and there was a lady wearing a dress with a zip down the front, and he said, I suppose that if I pulled that zip down, I'd get into an awful lot of trouble, wouldn't I?
You probably would, yes.
Yes, he would. So I'm used to those off-colour comments. But I think you're both right, because he is the leader of the party. He should set the standards. He should do something about his own party. But he was the CEO of a company.
He's an avowed anti-racist.
Yes.
I mean,
but he has to corral them and get them
everywhere.
all in.
What more can he do on that front?
But he has to set his own standards to his own party.
Should we not look to our government to set standards, first of all, and expel anyone who's ever made a racist comment, to fire anybody who's made a racist comment from a cabinet job? For example, our Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, there's no room for racism.
No, but there's a difference between...
I mean, you're saying he's leader of the opposition. I'm talking about, what about our Prime Minister, leader of the country, having a Foreign Secretary who said pickaninnies?
Yeah.
Well, it's not, it's not acceptable.
And he's in a top
That's not the same as sending people dead birds in the post.
But Jeremy Corbyn didn't say that.
And I'm not saying he
Corbyn
is
didn't...
personally to blame. I'm just saying he's to blame for not doing more.
But
what do you want him to do? Okay, what is more? Because you keep saying more. But
well, I
what
don't
is
know.
more?
I mean,
What does that
he has announced...
You don't know more?
Well, he's announced an investigation, but I mean, it needs to
There's
have
already
teeth.
been one.
Yeah, but ministers and politicians announce investigations all the time.
So that won't be enough for you?
No, well, it won't, because you need to see that it's actually producing
What do you
something.
want him to do?
I think he needs to find out what's at the heart of this and root it out. And as leader, he should... I mean, I don't know. I'm not the leader of a party, but he is.
But this is the problem. Lots of people are saying, he needs to do more, he needs to do more, he needs to do more. You keep hearing this, but then when actually you want the detail, then they're like, well, I don't know what, but he should. But he's been doing. I mean, he has been doing. And you maybe get the sense that some people who just despise him will just keep going because they ultimately despise
you don't
him.
think there is... Do you think there is a problem with anti-Semitism?
Oh, there is, of course.
Right.
There's a problem with anti-Semitism in society.
Yes, there
There's
is.
a problem with Islamophobia. And one very good thing about this, I think, is it's brought to the fore anti-Semitism. The idea that somehow, because Jewish people perhaps, the majority of Jewish people are white, that people think that there's no more anti-Semitism anymore. And I think this has brought it very, very well into the fore again. That anti-Semitism is something that my Jewish friends were still aware of. They know it's happening, and they feel that it's on the rise. Look, in France, it's on the rise. Look at America with Charlottesville, it's on the rise. And we have to all combat all prejudice and bigotry wherever we see it.
A few messages before the break.
Yeah, plenty of messages, but I'll read you a couple. Katniss says, I am not a Labour supporter, but I don't believe that Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Semitic. This is political correctness gone mad as usual. But Morris tweets, taking more than 2 years to kick out Ken Livingstone shows that Corbyn does not take this seriously, or even worse, has sympathy for those abhorrent views. Either way, it's a major dereliction of duty. And finally, Dougie reckons he is the leader of his party, not in control of everything that comes out of their mouths. So it's pretty split online
Yeah.
as to whether Jeremy Corbyn's done enough or should do more.
OK. We'll take a break after which is over to you. Can we hold Jeremy Corbyn to account for the anti-Semitic abuse of fellow MPs is the question. 0207 862 2222 is the number for your answers. Lots of calls, please, after a few more ads. Welcome back. Paul Burrell, Anne Diamond, Nihal Arthanaika are on fire this morning. Looking forward to their news review in about a quarter of an hour. Big stories today include Theresa May's Windrush apology and claims Curry's to blame for turning a Yorkshire river yellow. Right now, though, we're asking if Jeremy Corbyn can be held to account for the anti-Semitic abuse of fellow MPs, as the papers seem to suggest. Yesterday, MPs from all sides applauded and at times close to tears as Jewish colleagues told their horrific stories of anti-Semitic abuse.
They've called me Judas, a Zion Nazi, an absolute parasite, telling me to get out of this country and to go back to Israel.
Hang yourself, you vile, treacherous Zionist Tory filth. You are a cancer of humanity.
I didn't expect when I took on this voluntary cross-party role for my wife to be sent by a Labour Marxist anti-Semite, a dead bird, through the post. My wife, in the last few weeks, from a leftist anti-Semite in response to the demonstration, to be threatened with rape.
Corbyn sat in silence, perhaps stunned by the opening address given by Tory Community Secretary Sajid Javid.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the leader of the opposition, there are simply too many of these apparently accidental associations to list. It really is a question of leadership.
Accidental association, so holding Jeremy Corbyn to account for the things other people might do in his name. Well, before the break, Paul said as leader, Jeremy Corbyn needs to set standards. Anne says he needs to do more to conquer anti-Semitism, which prompted Nihal to ask, well, more can he do? He's already ordered an investigation. And Nihal also pointed out what Baroness Farsi had said about Islamophobia within the ranks of the Tory party, a subject that doesn't gain as much traction in the papers. What are people saying at home?
We've got Linda calling from Wales.
Good morning, Linda. No, lost Linda. Let's go to Andrew first of all, if we may, because Wasp man dying to get in.
I think that Jeremy Corbyn should tackle, as your indication indicated, the 75 people who've already been accused of anti-Semitism.
Some of whom, of course, may be innocent.
And exactly. So let him get that sorted. Let him set aside 2 weeks to have all these hearings, get it done, and that will show that he's actually tackling it. Ken Livingstone, I don't like him, should properly have his hearing, and then he can put his case. But he shouldn't be on suspension for 2 years. That is unfair to Ken Livingstone.
All right, I mean, it's worth mentioning that a number of MPs, including a number of Tories, are still being investigated for sexually inappropriate behaviour. This has been going on for months. This seems to be the speed at which Parliament goes.
But it's not Parliament. It's a Labour Party. It's only the Labour Party. It's an internal...
No, I understand that. I'm just saying the speed at which these things go is worryingly slow. Are you at all concerned that all the focus is on anti-Semitism in Labour? And in fact, one of the speeches given there actually was about, by the lady, she was accused of anti-Zionism, which is not the same as anti-Semitism. And in fact, I didn't detect within her speech an anti-Semitic line. It was anti-Zionist. We're picking on Labour, or the media's picking on Labour, and yet other parties have their problems too. We don't hear much about those.
Well, I think Anne's point is very, very good on that, is that it does appear to be a relatively right-wing media issue of which to be able to bash Jeremy. Right. But I don't think it's long enough, given the general election might only be in 2021, for it to be sustained, particularly when I do agree with Jeremy that he is getting a grip of it, but he's got to put the party machine into it to get it really rooted and sorted.
OK. I believe Linda's back, is that right?
Linda's back. We hope.
Let's have a word with her. Morning, Linda.
Hi, morning.
Good morning. What would you like to tell us, Linda?
Well, I didn't know anything about Jeremy Corbyn at all. And then the election was called, and I thought, oh, my God, how many more years of austerity? And surely he can't be that bad. So I ended up joining one of these sites to find out more about him. So I'm a member of one of these sites, which is now being blamed for anti-Semitism.
Go on, tell us about him.
On the whole, they are really good people, and we generally try to police these things ourselves. Now, if I come across anything that I think looks remotely racist or anti-Semitic in any way, shape or form, I report that to admin. and hopefully that gets taken down. And usually I'll leave a comment saying this is inappropriate and misrepresentative of what this group should be about.
Are these sites that Jeremy Corbyn himself is on? Are these sites that Corbyn himself is on? He was accused, if I recall, of being on 4 different forums in which anti-Semitic or racist abuse was being peddled.
Well, there's quite a number of sites out there, Matthew.
I'm sure.
So I'm not quite sure. I mean, the one I'm a member of is called Jeremy Corbyn Leads Us to Victory or something like that. So I think it was named.
Named after him?
Pardon?
Yeah, so the forum is named after him. You have encountered on this forum racist and anti-Semitic comments, and you applied to the admin to get them moderated, to get them removed. You post comments to identify and flag them up.
Yes.
What should Jeremy Corbyn be doing about these sites? What should he be doing about people who post on sites that carry his name that contain these unpleasant comments, these vile comments?
Well, I don't think that there's much more that he can do. I mean, for instance, we get people who will vote Conservative or UKIP, and they come on and they give us a bashing. They call us all kinds. They call us everything under the sun, and there's nothing that we can do about them. I mean, admin will ban them, but then they come in under a different name, and it's the same people over and over again.
I mean, I'll be honest, I get it on my Twitter feed. I'm looking at Nihal. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of the racist stuff you get, and I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Well, it's...
Why is there so much hatred?
Well, that's kind of the broader issue, isn't it? I mean, the stuff
Yeah.
that Nihal gets, I mean, there's one I can think of in recent months. It was absolutely vile, right? Absolutely vile. There is racism there on all forums, and Nihal asked you, Anne, if it appears on his timeline, is that Nihal's responsibility?
You can't police that, can you?
No.
How can you police something
Well,
like that?
you block. I mean, one thing about them all is they're cowards. They never show you their face. They're always some avatar. They're just filth.
OK, but now
cowards.
you see...
You have to be
Jeremy
thick-skinned in our game,
If
don't you?
Jeremy Corbyn stepped up today and just borrowed all the words you've just used. They're cowards. They're everywhere. Yeah, and so do you think that maybe is what's needed to convince the doom-mongers in the papers who may very well have their agenda? Do you think that would be enough to convince people that he is on top of the issue?
I get the feeling, Matthew, that there are certain people in the press who will never be satisfied. Yeah. They just hate him, and they'll go for him in whatever way they possibly can. But I think people, I mean, Anne, it's a question for you, really. If he said that, if he came out with that kind of language and was that robust about them being cowards and about them being filth, would that satisfy you?
Well, sort of, yes. But the last time we debated this on this programme was when you were away, actually, and I was in your seat. At that particular time, there was this great, it was the big story on the front pages at the time, and he was very reluctant to go on television, do a television interview for about 4 days. All of the television companies were after him to come on air and actually denounce this filth. Yeah. And he didn't do it for about 4 or 5 days, because I guess his style, he self-effaces a bit, doesn't he? For a leader, it's extraordinary. He doesn't engage with the press or
he does it
or
in a different way, because he knows the majority of the mainstream media don't like him.
Yeah, but he in that occasion, I thought he should have come out and said something really beefy and forceful, and maybe he should, yeah.
OK. It's interesting the language changed. Anyway, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you, Linda. Apologies to everyone else. Still to come, do any of you give a fig about next month's royal wedding, when Prince Harry has, frankly, about as much chance of being king as I have? King Matthew.